Thanks. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for making it back from lunchtime. Cal OER Day 2, our virtual conference exploring the open frontier, AI, and emerging technologies in OER. We want to thank our organizing committee. My name is Nicole Carpenter. I'm the research librarian for social sciences and the facilitator for our affordable Advocates Advisory at our local campus at UC Irvine. We want to thank all of the people on this board for helping us get this conference off the ground. We also want to thank our sponsors, Open Educational Resources Initiative from the Academic Senate for CCCs, the Michelson 20MM Foundation, as well as our CSU Affordable Learning Solutions and LibreTex. And we also want to thank you. Thank you for your registration fee. Your contributions make this event possible and enable Cal OER to offer live captioning. We partner with AI Media, so all the sessions have a live captioner available and users can simply enable it by toggling captions on within the platform. We also want to know what you're learning, so please share and hashtag Cal OER 2026 whenever you're posting anything to let us know where all the information goes to. And we also want to cover a few Zoom basics, so please be sure to mute yourself if you're not already muted. We do want to encourage you to chat and learn from others in the chat. There is time at the end in this session for Q&A. Please go ahead and take a note of your question because we're going to have our three presenters go first, and then we'll have a section at the end for questions. And then you can just raise your hand and unmute when called upon. We also have a Q&A section in Zoom, so please go ahead, go there and upvote different questions there as well. All of the sessions will be recorded, especially this one, our systems update, will be on the Cal OER YouTube channel. So without further ado, we have the California Higher Education Systems Update. And we are going to start with our first speaker, Leslie Kennedy from California State University Affordable Learning Solutions.
All right. Thank you so much, Nicole. And hello, everyone. Let me just share my screen, get the slides moving. There we go. It's great to see you all here this afternoon, and thanks for returning after lunch and after a long week as well, which is almost over. Anyway, my role at the California State University Affordable Learning Solutions is at the CSU. I'm the Assistant Vice Chancellor of Academic Technology Services, and I help lead this initiative for the system. I have been doing it for 12 years, and this is our team at the CSU at the Chancellor's office. Barbara helps with our web activities and our websites, but also coordinates our faculty showcases and some of our LMS activities as well. Faith is our coordinator and taking care of the details, whether it's resources, the listservs, the communiques, the webinars, etc. And I'll talk a little bit more about all those activities in a little bit. Gabby is our fiscal and operations person for ATS, and she manages the distribution of the funds that we distribute to the campuses and also works closely with Faith to keep the lights on and things moving forward. And then we have a unique position with Sandy Airhorn in that she has been with the CSU for a long time, retired as a bookstore director, and now is our auxiliary and bookstore liaison for the system and does amazing work with coordinating and partnering with our bookstores and facilitating the low cost initiatives. So between all of us, we are very pleased to serve the CSU in many different ways. So what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about what we're doing and then how our organization is set up, just to give you a quick overview about the CSU. I don't think I need to give you a lot of information about the CSU in general, in that it's the largest four-year university system in the country. 4-year, I said 4-year, not 2-year, because we know my colleagues on the call here or on the Zoom call are also a part of the largest 2-year system. So we're the largest 4-year comprehensive regional system in the country. And 1 in 10 employees in the state are CSU grads, and 1 in 20 across the country are CSU grads. So the impact of the CSU across the country and in the state of California is significant. So supporting our students in their pathways to success with graduation and degrees is very important, and lowering the cost of their course materials adds to that mission as well. So we are funded by lottery, California lottery funds. In other words, the distribution of funds of 420,000 approximately that I have on the slide, it comes from lottery. And we have, out of our 22 universities in the CSU, 21 participate in the Affordable Learning Solutions program. It's by by and large a voluntary program. So we have folks, stakeholders on campuses who step up and volunteer to lead their Affordable Learning Solutions initiative on their campuses. And so we usually have designated coordinators for each campus, and they're coming from various parts of the campus or the university. Librarians lead or dominate with our coordinator uh, community, in our coordinator community. We also have some faculty, some instructional designers, and other folks in other areas or stakeholders on the campuses who have stepped up to be leads. If you go to our Affordable Learning Solutions website, you can look under coordinators and see the list of all of the names and where they are situated on their campuses. But in general, if a campus requests funding from us, which we do every spring at our annual meeting, we kick off the call for proposals. They have to develop a committee for their campus. So here I've listed some of the stakeholders that we really ask gently request for the committee. So not only student representation, but the Accessible Technology Initiative, the instructional designers or academic technologists, in addition to faculty and librarians, and anybody else who's interested in supporting the lowering of course materials type program on their campuses. And as I said, we see the whole spectrum of support in this program in regards to coordinating and taking care of the details. So then at the annual meeting, the folks who are interested step up, turn in a call for proposal and response to that, and then we review them, our team that I just showed you earlier, and then we distribute the funds to the campuses up to 25,000. It varies between 15 to 25,000 depending on what the campuses are planning to do through the year. And you can see what the key activities are. We recommend that they facilitate recognition events and workshops so that they not only are making folks aware, helping to make faculty aware of the program, and also potentially funding them to do the work to shift from a paid material to an OER, for example, or to redo their curriculum to include other materials that are lower cost or zero cost. So that's very important to recognize, and we believe in that very strongly. So many of our campuses facilitate that because that's a gentle requirement as well. And then there are many workshops that folks are facilitating in regards to how to develop OER, how to use various tools such as LibreText to create OER, et cetera, et cetera. We also work really closely with our intersegmental partners who are here on the Zoom meeting. And that's really important to us because we share resources, we share our encouragement, and also as much as we can other types of activities so that we can promote one another, come up with new ideas together, or not have to reinvent the wheel as well. So that's really important. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, we foster cross-campus collaboration as much as possible so that the library and the bookstore and the accessibility folks and the librarians and faculty are all coming together on the same single initiative and are working out strategies to be successful in that area. My team, our team, the system-wide ALS group facilitates every month a webinar where we go over announcements and details of things that are happening but also to ask our campuses to highlight activities that we're aware of that they've been facilitating on their campuses, which is hopefully encouraging and provides awareness of other ideas for the other campuses. And then we also talk about, any other type of logistical information that might need to be reviewed. So that happens at our monthly webinars, kind of a communities of practice activities there take place there. We have an annual coordinators meeting, as I mentioned, that happens in the early spring, and that's when the call for proposals kicks off. But we try to bring all of our coordinators together. We put together speakers, kind of a conference with speakers from the outside world, such as what we've been seeing today, and try to facilitate as much information sharing as possible. We also, Sandy and I, but Sandy mostly facilitates the annual bookstore meeting. She also has a bookstore advisory group that's a subset of the bookstores with the 22 stores in the system. And we've had excellent support from them in regards to lowering cost of materials and supporting affordable learning solutions ever since I've been working with this program, which was established by Jerry Hanley many years ago. So that's an overview. So I thought I would share with you some ideas or some examples of what our campuses have been doing this year. Just a few. I'm not going to go through all 22. But for example, Channel Islands facilitates the California Open Ed Regional Roundtable, which is intersegmental. They are based up in the Ventura, Santa Barbara area, Channel Islands is. And so then they are partnering with the local community colleges for their area. And also UC Santa Barbara participates in this California Open Ed Regional Roundtable. They share resources. These are the facilitators. We've got several faculty and then also a librarian who manage the Affordable Learning Solutions Initiative at Channel Islands, but also coordinate this roundtable. And I get to participate in that. And it's always a great way to come together to share ideas and to hear what others are doing, as I said earlier. The more we learn from one another and our successes and our challenges, the better. And then we've got Shelley, who's on the call and also very active in this organization, who leads the Affordable Learning Solutions Initiative at Cal State Fullerton. And she was one of our featured speakers on one of our webinars and spoke about the open educational resources and pedagogy for engaging learners topic, and always provides amazing resources and information and encouragement for other coordinators because our coordinators vary, come and go every year. So some have been doing this for several years, like Shelley, but then others, we have new folks that step in when others retire or they move on, whatever, for whatever reason. And so there's always a turnover and a need to mentor and train and support our new coordinators as well. So this was a great webinar that Shelley provided during our monthly webinar. Hallie Clausen, very active at Cal State Dominguez Hills as well. She facilitates her ALS symposium and recognition event, and brings together everyone and meets up in the beautiful library at Dominguez Hills and brings faculty and administrators together for the recognition. And also this year expanded it to include a symposium of with OER materials of various types and activities. So if you are interested in that, you could probably find that information on our website or potentially reach out to Hallie because she did a great job with that symposium as well. Another example is at San Jose State. These two librarians, Essie and Jane, are our new coordinators and also facilitated a faculty recognition event, even though they were very new to the initiative and did an amazing job with, again, recognizing faculty, providing them certificates, making sure that the campus is aware of who they are, and potentially also some funding for their work that they have taken care of. The other thing that San Jose State has done for many years is collaborate with our bookstore. And actually, I think they were the lead on this initially. And now most of our campuses are doing this in that they are collaborating with the bookstores where the store will give the librarians the list of textbooks that have been adopted for the next year, and then they will comb through our library collections and locate the e-textbooks, and let the faculty know that those books are potential, not all of them, I'm going to say, but many of them are potentially available in our library collections, and then so that they can let their students know so that they can potentially skip purchasing if they're going with a paid book, but especially if it's free from the library. So they do a great job. And then we've also got Long Beach State that facilitated also not only a recognition event, but also a showcase at the recognition event of what the various faculty and staff are doing to either select OER or low-cost materials, and or to facilitate the awareness of how that works and where the resources are, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a collaboration between Marvin, who is in the lead of the instructional or academic technology group at Long Beach State, and Rico, who is very active and the associate director of the bookstore. So this is a great partnership that we see growing on our campuses as well. And just a few little overview of what's coming this year. We try to track those campus events, so we share this slide with our coordinators to let us know when their events are, and we try to attend if we can, so that others will see when they're being scheduled and maybe sharing ideas, etc. We have a getting started toolkit where those that are new and even those who are returning could find many different types of resources, as you can see are listed here. And that's a Google folder, really. It's very simple. And we've actually shared it beyond the CSU. It's open, it's available, and we'll share these slides afterward. And I believe this is linked, so you can get to that pretty easily. And then we also have an ALS planning committee that's reforming right now so that we can also focus on, this initiative has been around for, like I said, 12 years since I've been doing it, but it's maybe even 20 to 25 years. We're one of the longest running programs in the country. And so it's always time to rethink and consider other ways of looking at affordability with course materials. And so that's why we're convening a group this year. And we've got several campus volunteers that are going to work together to determine how we move forward. And we're not going to drop any of the funding processes. We're just thinking about other strategies that we could be focusing on. For example, we've had a lot of emphasis in Cal OER these last 2 days on utilizing AI. And so how can we also foster that and provide the resources as much as possible? That's one example. We haven't met yet, so I'm just throwing that out there. So I'm extremely grateful for the support of the coordinators within the system. So don't want to forget that back in 2012, the legislature passed a Senate Bill 1052 that established the California the open online library. And when I started in 14, we kicked that off with there was Senate Bill 1053, which established a group of faculty from each system. So we had two from each system, and then a few others in support of that. All of that meet for a year and a half to establish the criteria for Cool for Ed, and the coursework, that the disciplines that we're going to be focused on initially. It has since expanded, and as you probably know, with the California Ed Code that was attached to the community colleges receiving their 15 million for the development of ZTC courses and programs in around 2021. They called out the fact that those materials that are being created for the ZTC and the California community colleges also needs to be cataloged in Cool for Ed. So we continue to facilitate Cool for Ed for all of California and beyond, because it's all open. And we work very closely with Michelle Pilati and her team and the ASSC see if I got all the S's correct, or I might have left something off. That's the state senate for community colleges, and then also as much as possible with the UCs, because this was a collaborative effort from the beginning, and so we want to continue to do that. And so, with their guidance, we've added, the whole ZTC requirements, and there's a whole setup around that that's being coordinated by the community colleges. But our back end, we're supporting the tool. Barbara, I mentioned, showed her picture earlier, is the lead on that. And we also have our faculty showcases in there. We still require our faculty, our campuses to turn in at least 5 showcases of adoption of OER. And so to tell the story, to help with the awareness across all the disciplines that could be made even more aware of the value of OER. So those showcases also sit in Cool for Ed, and Barbara facilitates that as much as possible. But really, the coordinators on the campuses find their faculty who are doing the work and utilizing OER. And every year we get a fresh new group, and we get to highlight them and hope that that's going to help others be inspired to also explore using OER and adopting it in their courses. So that's Cool for Ed. And other ALS resources that we have, as I mentioned, we've got that shared Google Drive. We've got a listserv that's an internal listserv where we can communicate with one another as ALS coordinators. And then we also have our website that I mentioned. And then on that website, we have 2 kinds of showcases. We have campus showcases where each campus and their activities are highlighted as to what they're doing. Maybe they even have some student or faculty resolutions in support of zero cost or low cost materials. Anything that's happening around affordable learning is highlighted for each campus. And then we also have those faculty showcases that I mentioned, and also highlighting faculty adoption of OER, etc. So we also are in presence on social media as one should be. And then I just want to thank so many folks for the successes of the CSU's Affordable Learning Solutions. Just want to point out, and I think I mentioned this last year, and I hope I'm not just repeating something really that nobody wants to hear again. But a few years ago, the governor's office distributed these compacts asking us to meet different criterias, our 3 systems, to meet different criteria in order to potentially get additional funding. And for us, it's about 250 million total extra funding if we meet the criteria in the compact. One of the compact criteria was to reach to show $150 million savings for our students over that time period. It was about a time period of 7 or 8 years, and which we did reach by 2025. That was the goal, 2025, and we did reach that, and we're very excited about that. That's a combination of OER and low-cost course materials through our bookstores. Combination of both of those allowed us to reach that goal of 150 million saved for our students. So that's another reason why we have this committee set up to start talking about other strategies, because we're thinking about getting away from focusing on just savings, but also other types of areas to focus on: coursework development, learning outcomes, embedding in learning outcomes, and many, many more ways to highlight the good work and that's happening in the CSU, but also and the support we're providing our students and faculty. We're also very appreciative of our vendors and partners. LibreText, we're a system-wide partner. We have also Pressbooks, and we also work closely with our stores, who are strong partners as well. And then the biggest thank you goes out to our Affordable Learning Solutions coordinators, who work so hard to work with 29,000 faculty, and not with each one individually, I imagine, but there's always a challenge. There's always new faculty to work with, and other faculty who want to make some changes as well. They are our champions for the system. And then finally, my team. My team is amazing, and we are very dedicated and passionate for this project as well. So that's my thank you. And thank you for listening to me to give a system-wide update about the Affordable Learning Solutions Initiative at this Cal State University.
Thank you so much, Leslie. That was great. Why don't we go ahead and transition to James Todd, who will be representing our California Community College's Chancellor's Office, telling us a little bit about the CCCs. Take it away, Todd, or James, excuse me. You're still on mute. And yes, I
How's
can see your
that?
slide.
Yes. Okay, good. You can see my slides. Thank you so
Perfect.
much. I'm so not good at doing both these together. You would think I would be by now. Great to see everybody. And that was a really fantastic presentation there as well. I'll start with what I think is always needed in this space is gratitude. I even remember last year's conference, and one of the things we talked about was how do we work more comprehensively together. Leslie, I see every time I see your presentations, I think more about like how can we coordinate across both of our systems. You kind of noted that we're both the biggest in the nation, but it's also about the kind of scaled impact we can have together for the students in California. Keep thinking like if we have zero textbook costs inside of California community colleges, how do we make that 4-year pathway actually work and plan it and show it? Because there really is some correlations between success and access with our students and having this kind of immediacy of what OER can do for our students on their first day. So really love that, and the more we can think aloud in that in this session, I welcome that. And also, the kind of gratitude we have with our partnership with the Academic Senate, OER efforts, and the community here that continue to kind of propel these pieces forward for students. And we really see this. I'll just put one other piece is that our system, really sees this as our opportunity for access and support and success for students around equitable attainment. And looking at, the various surveys that we've had around basic needs, comprehensive support for students, what gets in the ways in terms of barriers for educational access, it always seems to come back. This is one of the top pieces or priorities for students is lowering costs and having day one access. So it's a centerpiece, I think, for us in California, anyways, to try to ensure that we're meeting student need and really focusing on the relationship between affordability and access and student completion. So, with that in mind, I think one of the things that you talked about, Leslie, was the ZTC degree grant program that we've had in the community colleges. And I keep thinking too, is like, how do we share our resources better and have more collaboration? So that's always in my mind. But we did end up, being able to disperse funds to our colleges where it is a lot. All of our colleges have been awarded about $500,000 to build complete zero textbook cost pathways with an emphasis on OER as being the primary way we can continue to have um, uh, uh, long-term sustainability for access for students. And the structure we've built around that is really to support OER, as you'll see. We now have almost 800 academic pathways either available or being built statewide across our campuses. And those also, if you think about it, can be adopted or adapted by a variety of colleges as well. So we're starting to have some real scale built in that. This coming fall is when we're really having our first rollout of these materials and utilization of some of them. And so we're excited about the ways that we can share those through the platform and the work of LibreTexts, and having faculty have much more access to what's been created and ways to kind of curate and put their own print on the materials that they're using inside of their courses so that they can adapt them in ways that make sense for their own teaching style and their own curriculum. We also have this funded contract now with LibreText for our system. What's important for that is we've been working as well and thinking about how do we ensure more sustainability and also data for the legislators who are excited to see the work of or the progress in this project. And so not only just as a system of having better imprint across our colleges, but really being able to track through data what's being used and how what kind of effect it's having on students. And we've had this ASCCC, actually, this is already done, to have the OERI support our development for many years now. They have been doing a lot of work on an initial investment that we had through our state, but our ZTC dollars have come through to kind of support our academic senate over the next few years to continue in the sustainability efforts that we have for ZTC. So we have an estimated cost savings in terms of the impact of this work. So over the course of 24-25, we're kind of looking at where we had sections of cost and using $100 as a marker, which we've kind of seen established across a variety of higher education institutions of $32 million in 24-25. And so the more we can have impact and be able to show the correlations between OER, and I realize that that helps us with our ZTC pathways, I think the better chance we have of the legislature getting behind further budget requests for not just our system, but I think for public higher education in California. And so, what we would love to do is have some collaborative work across public higher ed and try to find ways that we can build opportunities for funding for our students that are in transfer pathways or at other institutions as well. We did have a recognition for the Zero Textbook Cost Program, but who I really want to highlight here is the Michelson Center for Public Policy and the Michelson 20MM Foundation. They have really been true supporters in the space of OER. They worked along to have this resolution passed on the Senate floor in June. And it really recognizes the efforts of what can happen when we have both our kind of nonprofit partners and advocates for students in California partner with our public higher ed systems to try to make things more accessible. And so this was a really special moment that happened in June. And what the piece of that I think that's really important to recognize is that we're starting to see not just the results, but the interest from our legislative offices as well, and what might be a more funded future around OER. Our next chapter for OER in the community colleges, we have set a goal of having 70% of our course sections using OER. We know that that is lofty, but we have a lot of colleges that are actually already at that mark. And so, the ones that come to uh, um, uh, mind are Lemoore, and I know that Cosumnes River College and a variety of other kind of OER leaders in our system have either come close to this mark or are surpassing it. And so we want to try to work with our system, our partners, our faculty, and our leadership across the system to reach this goal. Key and central for that will be our faculty leadership through the OERI and the Academic Senate. But we really are also trying to provide as much resources as we can through our own office to support this work. We know that this is a tipping point for ourselves when this becomes a standard. It's really when we start to look at the data, we have much better equitable access to our courses. It's really improved our day one access to course materials where students are able to be successful from day one. And we can also start to see some correlations between having materials available for students and having persistence and retention through courses. We're also trying to build this institutional OER capacity across our system in partnership with LibreText, as I mentioned. And really now with our system leaders, working with CEOs and CIOs and communities of practice on increasing the amount of OER on our campus is a big priority for us. Also, we've leaned into this. We've created our own regulations in our system around trying to have day one access for students. So after we had our meeting last year here in Cali OER, um, we created a new Title V section, 54-221, which is called Burden-Free Access to Instructional Materials. And we've provided an initial memo out to the field, and we continue to work with them on how do we ensure that students have day one access. And inside the regulation, the highest or the centerpiece of that is utilizing, adopting, curating, and maintaining OER across our system. We've also developed a leadership toolkit. Dr. Ed Bush has helped to lead that out of Cosumnes River College and has done a variety of sessions with CEOs on how do you get towards increasing OER on our campuses. And they also have developed a variety of dashboards and using them internally at colleges and inside of districts to show where you're making change in a variety of pathways and course sections. And so we want to share that across our system. Our ultimate goal, I think, over the next year or two is to have much better system level data, to have dashboards around our utilization of OER and also ZTC pathways, which really can be kind of a barometer for us to reach that goal of 70%. Of course, part of that as well is having the infrastructure for LibreText, which we did not have before. So we'll have this in two places. The Cool for Ed site, Leslie, that you have, the LibreText. And I think for us, honestly, if we're producing this material, whatever way we can path forward we can establish to share this across our 4 years and our 2 year institutions and to really lean into kind of systematic ways that we're maintaining and curating materials, the better. So I'm always open to those kind of ideas. I think that's our next step is, how are we visiting the resources that we've made this year with this investment? Which ones are really great? Which ones need more attention or could use an update or further materials? I know a lot of the work is also in the ancillary realm where we're providing, ways that help with assessment and help with learning support. But ways that we can kind of collaborate together, I would really find that to be beneficial. We also have a task force on burden-free instructional materials. As I said, we're building this toolkit. We are also working on a college self-assessment, so they can gauge where they are in terms of building these and utilizing these materials. And we also continue to give updates to our Board of Governors, and we'll give a report out of this task force on what the next key recommendations are to drive affordability for students. It's not just textbooks that we've been focusing on, it's also supplies, which is a much more difficult task often to try to bring down those costs. But we're looking at ways that we can do economies of scale for perhaps procurement strategies, et cetera, to bring down and try to make access as affordable as possible for students. We have also seen what's interesting in the last year, not that AI wasn't here a year ago, but it has really picked up in terms of the utilization and the systems that we've made available for faculty. A lot more utilization in AI work with OER across our system. And so that's another place where I think both building the materials as well as using AI for support systems and study guides and assessment pieces that we need to continue to focus on. I don't think that these are mutually exclusive. I think the ways in which we're supporting faculty and highlighting ways that we can redefine assessment, embed AI skills, use AI in the production of materials, and also find ways that we really make authentic learning possible in the classroom is part of the entire comprehensive package that we need to bring together. It's not just merely about the OER, but it's also about the changing landscape of teaching and learning. Finally, also kind of related to this, we have had a variety of ways that we have demarcated low-cost materials. And so when we do our affordability index in our system, there are still a variety of sections that are marked as low cost, and we're going to say that $30 in our system is what that is for our data use. So we'll be able to track what's no cost, what's at low cost, and then where are also areas where we can really try to invest in and work with to bring down those that are not in those categories in our system over the next year. So I think that's all I have. There's a thank you. Oh no, there's one more. There's this LibreText slide as well. I know Delmar, you're going, but I will say that we're really, really excited about having this 5-year contract in place with you, so that we can do better sharing of materials across all of our colleges as well. So I'll hand it over to Delmar, I think is next, but really appreciate the partnership and the space for us to have this conversation today.
Thank you so much, James. Delmar
Can
Larson
people
is
hear me?
up next.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, 1 second here. That didn't work. That should work. Okay, we good to go?
Yep. Looks good.
Gr- Great. Okay, so I'm going to be significantly less wordy than my colleagues before me, in part because I'll be focusing on the updates that we've done in the last year and not a state of affairs for everything that we've been doing in the University of California system. Uh, Hold on a second. I want to minimize. Okay. Over the last 5 to 7 years, a lot of activity has gone on in the University of California system focusing on OER. And it's broadly separated into three general categories. We have the bookstore-led programs, which includes an array of day one, inclusive access, exclusive access, total access. And I know that not everybody feels that it's 100% aligned with OER, but nonetheless, it does, at least mathematically, in some circumstances, show that it's actually a reduction in the cost for the students. We also have library-led efforts, which then focuses on library-owned material. Sometimes that's OER. Much of the time, that's more ZTC or funded by the individual campus in order to be able to replace conventional textbooks or at least support additional textbooks. And lastly, we have the faculty-led efforts. And this is a lot of faculty fit into this category, that people who basically have built their own resources in order to take the place of commercial textbooks and may not even know of the acronym OER or the greater movement that is afoot in regard to OER and such. No significant large-scale activity has undergone in the UC system, like the other two systems in the state, but it is worthwhile at least to focus on a few things that did pop up. So all UC libraries support affordable and OER efforts in general. Many have an affordable course materials committee or an advisory team in order to be able to advance that, and they're still actively moving forward in their efforts. In particular, UC Santa Barbara has been working with the dean of the College of Natural and Agricultural Sciences. They value OER work, and they're working on paying for image reproduction fees in order to reduce costs. UC Irvine went where the students are, quote unquote, collaborate with the student-run Ant Almanac, which you can Google if you want to take a look at. It's a course scheduling building app that integrates low-cost, no-cost course lists into it. um, uh, to accompany those sort of individual grassroots efforts, it's be difficult for me to actually not talk about LibreText, both because it comes from a UC project or UC campus from UC Davis, where I am a professor of chemistry at, and its scope in California is really quite pervasive. So the the intent of the LibreText is to build and distribute OER text to facilitate the customization of OER. We've expanded, thanks to funds from the California Education Learning Lab, a homework system and other capabilities in order to complement that to make an ecosystem that we call the LibreVerse. Over the last 18 years of our existence, we again have collected a lot of traffic. In fact, somewhere on the order of about 1.8 billion page views, and 6% of those page views originate from California. And largely around metropolitan areas where UC campuses happen to be earned. We save approximately $500,000 to UC Davis alone. It's unclear exactly the full scope across the entire UC because we don't have a centralized infrastructure like the other two systems. And on average, we feel that we save somewhere in the order of $5 million. But I wanted to point out one sort of case study of particular success that I thought was important. And this is, again, at UC Davis. And the physics department has built 22 original OER textbooks and lab manuals. And you can access them at the UC Davis Commons, the LibreText Commons down here in the lower left-hand corner. If you just do a search through physics, you can see them. Those textbooks have benefited, since they started this about 6 years ago, over 13,000 students and saved a total of about $1.7 million over the past 5 years behind the interest. So this is a great case study of showing what happens when a department at a high enrollment department at a UC, which is intrinsically a large enrollment campus, is able to just do one switch over and its effects off of there. And the hopes are that we'd be able to scale this thing up across multiple departments. One thing of particular interest that I like to point out, and it's still in its infancy, is that the National Science Foundation funded a grant last year to open up what we call a Cal Open Hub, which is an intersegmental system in order to advance OER and education across all three systems. And the idea behind this project, which I hope you guys will be hearing about soon, is to model something based off of MIT's OpenCourseWare. So if you're unfamiliar with MIT's OpenCourseWare, it's celebrating its 25th anniversary. So it is probably the flagship OER project, or at least was many years ago, and is certainly one of the most mature projects out there. And what they did is they essentially decided to build an infrastructure and facilitate from the top, from at the president's level, effort in order to get the faculty in order to contribute existing content that they have been using in their classroom. Content more along with contribution, but also to openly license it. So whether individual faculty had whatever notes, whatever exams, slide decks, in some cases textbooks and things like that, it's a valuable resource that really showcases the expertise that goes on at MIT's system. But just as a reference of scale, MIT has 1,090 professors. The intent of this new grant is to be able to take this infrastructure and this model and scale it to California. So in comparison, the University of California system employs 26,000 faculty. So we have 26 times more faculty. The CSU has 63,000 faculty and staff over all their campuses. And then the community colleges have roughly the same, about 57,000 faculty. So this same mechanism, if scaled up appropriately throughout all three systems in the state, should generate 100 times more information and content across a broad scope of effort. So a lot of our activities will be focusing on trying to identify faculty that are willing to contribute their content, small little contents, and use the LibreText infrastructure in order to facilitate its distribution. And I have high hopes for this project and effort. So with that, I will just mention that of all the activity that's going on in the system, given the size of the UC system, the other two, both Leslie and James mentioned about how they are the biggest. I will also comment that the University of California system is the largest university system in the world. But we have a lot more development necessary, both at the system level, at the campus level, at the department level, and then at the faculty level. And we're very excited in order to be able to see how the future goes in terms of advancing that. With that, I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Delmar. Appreciate all of our presenters today. Please go ahead if you have questions, throw them in the chat or the Q&A. We have one in the chat so far. What is the way that worked well to combine XB12 and AB 607 requirements and faculty engagement?
My
Is
sense
that for
is
someone
that's
specific? Yeah.
community colleges.
Yeah, it is. I'm just reading this right
Uh,
now. I know that we're in the midst of kind of like resetting all of that and engaging the CIOs to ensure that we have better data. So I think the idea is that we're going to have that a little bit better ironed out this year. So coming out of the 26-27 year, we're going to have a lot better way to kind of build dashboards and follow that. It was really, um, I think the rollout and the way we wanted the data was kind of uh, conflated a couple of different interests when we first put it out. So I think we've now worked with Michelle Pallotti in ways that, and ACCC, OERI, and that BFIM task force to try to ensure that we have much better data around XB12. It's also been something that we have to get used to so that these college systems that are mapping out costs of textbooks, utilization of different types of instructional materials, that they get trained and we really are tracking it in a much more precise way. So we've done definition updates as well as new deployment of that metric. So hopefully next year we can give you a better update on that. Um, and I like this idea about avoiding confusion around zero costs. Um, so yeah, we need to do better. I think one of the things that we're sending out earlier this year, we want to try to engage all of our academic community with some memos around both zero textbook costs as well as our OER platform work. So we have better information with our CIOs that can inform the campuses. So we'll do that as well, Yana, this year.
And I'll just jump in, and that it's a challenge for us as well. And I'm not going to say a whole lot because James summarized it very nicely. But it's there are many factors that make this challenging, and we are all working as much as possible to try to resolve them.
Delmar, I would love to hear too from you. Just, I know you're walking between a variety of different roles. When you started to talk about the MIT work and kind of the ways in which, the platform that you work with in LibreText, like, um, could you comment a little bit on how we can share resources better nationally or even just between our systems, that is more systematic, or how we prioritize ways to identify, high rates of utilization or ones that are emergent that seem to be really good resources. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Um, it's a little multifaceted. So, I mean, the context that at least the part that I presented in Cal Open was to take the fact that we have, 100,000 plus faculty with
Hmm.
100,000 plus computers that hosts a large amount of educational resources. And many of those resources would be OER if the faculty member knew about it and could be trained. So a lot of this is
Yeah.
dissemination efforts, group aggressors efforts and such. The MIT the director of MIT Open Courseware is on our advisory board, as is Michelle Pilati. So there's going to be a mixture between trying to say what happened at MIT and how we can actually scale it up in the state. But I have a feeling that absent a top-down approach, which I think is how it worked at MIT, it's going to be a lot of grassroots dissemination efforts. And that right there is encumbered by a variety of different ways, depending upon the system and other things. And I'm happy in order to showcase that aspect. In terms of identifying what's being used outside of the state, because as many of us know, the sizable amount of investment that the legislature put into OER, largely through the community college system, is not reciprocated across the other 49 states in the country. But that doesn't mean that they don't have valuable resources that we can capitalize and use. And, the LibreText project, while strong in California, has significant inroads into many other states, including Illinois, Florida, and other things. So as they build their projects, and that content can move over, and that is the key benefit of a central repository, as far as I'm concerned, because a fragmented approach does not facilitate that very well and such. I'm not sure if I fully got your question.
No,
If
it's
I
a
may have missed
great
it.
point. I know it's
Mhm.
a great response. I think it's part of us always trying to figure out on, what does systems work look like beyond our own, or not just in our side of our campuses, but inside of community colleges, and finding ways that we can really highlight and drive particular disciplines and their, the utilization rates or the emerging OER that's available, the better. So I love this thing that's in the chat right now. Like, how do you do a social media campaign? It's not just merely about can you use OER, but anthropology OER, history OER, these ways in which we're engaging at a discipline level, I think really helps drive it. And librarians being a central part of a network that really helps to facilitate knowledge around it. So whatever we can do on dissemination, the better. And then ways that we can also probably coordinate better communication kind of intersegmentally on where we're making investments in the development of resources. I would love to try pilot projects where we're bringing together disciplines rather than, especially if we're doing lower division coursework, what's our opportunity there to kind of create something across our systems? It always helps with articulation, always helps with, designing and even facilitating pathways for students because if instructors know each other, that's great too. But it'd be great if we thought through that model. It doesn't just bring efficiency, but I think it also opens up the network a lot more towards utilization. So maybe we need to find 5 disciplines where we do that. I don't know, but I would love that.
We could have those conversations because we do meet with several of us on a regular basis, maybe just about this, but other topics as well. Michelle leads that, and
Right.
we get together usually up in Sacramento in their offices. So maybe that would be something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be a topic for the next meeting, maybe if Michelle's here. Maybe I don't see her.
Yeah. And I imagine there's great minds in here as well. So if they end up,
Mhm.
anyone in here has great ideas on how we can do better partnerships across our segments, the better. Because I think that's where the key lever is, I
Mhm.
think, to move, multifaceted education.
Yeah, the maturing of the programs, if it's yeah, Mhm. Next level.
And I think the investments in the ancillary materials, which is, where we need a lot of time and space and kind of work, probably could be, you know, lessened if we have multiple folks in the room on that too, coming up with a sign. Sorry, Nicole.
No, I'm loving the conversation going on. I do have one request for any of the community college faculty that are here that if you do have a UC friend that teaches in your same discipline, that is something to like, have a conversation about because, like Delmar said, the development really needs to make inroads in a lot of different areas in the UC. So we are looking forward to any conversations that can be accelerated for sure. Um, I'm looking for some more questions. Does anybody have any more questions for our presenters? If not, we can give everybody their 15 minutes back and give yourself a little bit of a cushion before our next segment.
That's great.
Let me double check. I think our next sessions start at 2:30. Let's see here.
That's correct.
All right. Well, thank you again to our wonderful speakers today. Yes, let's give them all a round of applause. Appreciate you for all of your updates. Check out their slides, share your information, hashtag us, and we'll see you at the next session.